Well, when it comes to the Disney parks, we do know they've made a lot of announcements at D23 this year about new lands and attractions that will be coming to the parks and where those lands and attractions will be going, as many of them are replacing areas of the parks that people aren't really the happiest with. You look at Monsters Inc. land is going where Muppets Courtyard is, and we have the Cars attraction going into Frontierland, which is going to presumably take out the Rivers of America. And not to mention over to Animal Kingdom, we have the Tropical Americas that's going to remove the Dino Land area of that park. But when these things will begin construction is a completely different story, as we talked in the video yesterday about how the state was asking for changes to the permit that they filed for the destruction of the Rivers of America, and how Disney had 10 days to make changes to that permit, and now they're requesting an extension on that. And also we have some news about Animal Kingdom as well, as it looks like that area of the park will not begin construction as soon as they had hoped here. So we're going to read through these things and give some thoughts on it and go from there. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And again, the first one here, and actually both these stories here are from WDWNT. And this one says, Disney requests a 60-day extension to update the Rivers of America Cars permit. It says the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, on behalf of Walt Disney World, has requested a 60-day extension to update their permit regarding the transformation of the Rivers of America in Magic Kingdom into a Cars area. The extension request was penned by the district's senior water resource engineer, Mandy Brandt, and simply states an extension of 60 days is requested for the above referenced application to allow the applicant additional time to prepare a response to the RAI dated September 11th, 2024. Disney filed the permit with the South Florida Water Management District on August 12th and responded a month later with a 6-page request for additional information, and they asked for clarifications and 20 adjustments to the permit that they filed. Disney did not immediately respond, prompting SFWMD to send a notice that they had 10 days to update the permit or it would be denied. The permit regards basin stormwater modifications required for construction at Tom Sawyer Island, Rivers of America, and laydown yards in the surrounding area. So, like we said yesterday, it seems, at the time I didn't know, but it seems like Disney has not communicated with them at all until this, so requesting extension. So the part of the thing they were asking for was environmental impact studies, so it doesn't seem like either Disney hasn't done those or they're in the midst of doing those. So it definitely seems like construction on the Rivers of America is going to be delayed, as they were looking to start, I think, construction there beginning part of 2025, I think is initially what they had said. But this also goes into the fact that we don't even know how it'll be, if it'll be approved, if they'll have to change it. Like, there's a very decent chance, I suppose, that some area of the Rivers of America will have to stay, depending on what the state ends up telling them to do. So that has ran into a hiccup there for sure. And then over in Animal Kingdom, Disney announced today that Dinosaur, the ride, will be open for all of 2025. Which is a little surprising here. So it says, according to a post shared by Disney Parks blog, Dinosaur will be open for all of 2025 before it goes extinct to make way for the previously announced Tropical America's Land. An exact closing date for the attraction has not been shared, however. It says, while you're visiting, make sure you go get that dino at Dinosaur. We've previously shared this attraction will be closing to make way for the new Tropical America's Land. 2025 is your year to visit before it goes extinct. Dinoland at Animal Kingdom will close in phases, with the first phase starting on January 12th, 2025, with the closure of Triceratops Spin, Fossil Fuel Games, and Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures. The Indiana Jones attraction, taking over Dinosaur footprint, will feature an all-new story that takes place in an ancient Mayan temple. Disney had previously stated that construction would begin in the fall of 2024, with permits filed that reveal demolition plans, but the South Florida Water Management District has requested additional information regarding those plans, which could affect Disney's construction timeline. So it definitely seems like the state is not playing along as well as Disney would like when it comes to the construction and what they want to do with these areas. I've raised many questions about not only the things that they announced. Like, I think on its face, again, Monsters Inc. land, the Cars area, even Tropical Americas, I have no problem with these things, but where they're being chosen to put, I do bring into question. Now, Tropical Americas, I don't think that many people are upset about Dino Land going away, as Animal Kingdom already doesn't have a lot of things to do. You could make a really decent argument, though, that they could just expand that park and just have more things to do instead of doing what Disney likes to do, which is just, replace existing attractions, which is what they're doing with Monsters Inc. land, taking out Muppets Courtyard, and then with obviously the Cars area taking over, Tom Sawyer Island, the Rivers of America, and all that stuff. But I've brought into question, like, Disney takes a long time to construct stuff anyways, and as these things are all a way of having an answer for Epic Universe, and Epic Universe is opening in May of 2025, I have a lot of doubts that any of the things that Disney announced are going to be done before 2028. And if they are, the first one would be part of the Tropical Americas in Animal Kingdom. I think the majority of these things, as they continue to go, and especially we don't know anything about the permit that is going to be going on with Rivers of America, when that timeline could be. So I think most of these things, including Villains Land, in my opinion, start looking closer to 2030 before these things get done. Because again, Disney just takes a while to construct things. And in a period of time when their biggest competitor is making headway in not only market share, and that's before Universal had a brand new theme park opening next year, which is highly anticipated, which is very likely to massively increase the attendance for Universal. I think Disney is thinking or hoping it's going to help their attendance, but at the same time, with a bunch of these areas now, supposedly these areas under construction at Disney World, also charging more for the things they're doing, I think that this is setting up for an interesting time period for Disney, especially the next 5 years, because essentially what I'm seeing here, what I think is going to happen is Universal with Epic Universe is going to have a free run at least the next few years to whatever impact it is going to have on the market. It's going to be able to have without really any pushback from Disney. Now, I think the best case scenario for Disney is that they have attendance say the same or slightly dip. If you look historically with whenever Universal opened the Wizarding Worlds, Disney saw a slight decrease in their attendance, but then later it was bumped up with some more things that they had started opening, and the economy kind of opened up at that point as well. So I think Disney's perhaps best case or hopeful case is that they see a slight decline or just their attendance stays the same. But again, the worst case scenario for Disney is that they see a big hit on their attendance. They're not really going to have anything to offer to really pull people back over to Disney outside of massive discounts, which I would assume they're going to run discounts regardless. They are going to have nighttime shows and parades, but I don't think that's going to be enough to really offset a brand new theme park that their biggest competitor is now opening up. So this time period is interesting. I've said it before, Disney's not used to this. They've never been in this spot before where Universal has been this much competition, and they've been really innovating and driving the theme park market with the creativity side of things. And it's really an unknown thing about how big of an impact Universal will have with Epic Universe, because the Wizarding Worlds, they did show about 39% increase in attendance when those opened, and they were able to maintain that attendance. That was just a single land. You're talking about a brand new theme park here. So really, anybody that's saying they know what's going to happen is just guessing. I don't know what's going to happen. I can just sit there and say that I think it is going to have a pretty big impact. I'm going to be watching to see how this affects both parks here. But I think if you're Disney, I would be worried here seeing the delays in the construction, the issues they're having with the state and getting these permits to be approved before they even begin construction on these things. So it's going to delay those timelines for the things that they would like to get open before they even get into the construction of these things to begin with. I think probably just thinking logically here, or just trying to be just as fair as I can be, I think Universal undoubtedly is going to see a pretty big spike in their attendance. I think that's, I don't think that's really a hot take by any means. But I definitely think Disney's going to take a hit on this because, again, Universal is working to get people to stay there for more than just a couple of days. They're trying to get people to stay there for a whole week. And historically, Universal has been a destination where people go to Disney World, add on a day or two at Universal, and they kind of go together in that way. But Universal is trying to break that trend. So even if people still go to Disney, but they don't go to, say, Animal Kingdom, which I think Animal Kingdom is going to be the park that's going to take the biggest hit. And that took a big hit last year as their attendance dropped around 34% last year. But I think Magic Kingdom is the park that, again, it's going to be busy, but if they definitely don't want to see the attendance fall off there, that is the number one theme park in the entire world. But I think you could definitely see, you're talking about Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and perhaps even Epcot taking a hit on their attendance, as I think a lot of people who would go to Disney and Universal would for sure go to Magic Kingdom, but they may choose not to go to, the other three parks or two of the other parks there and split up their trips that way. So Universal is hoping that they flip that how it used to be, where most people spend most of their time at Universal and then add on a day or two at Disney. And if that does happen, Disney is going to feel that. And again, with these permit issues they're having these stuff get approved, it for sure delays the timelines here, but it also is looking at Rivers of America. There's a decent chance there that they're going to have to change the plans there to maintain those waterways in some way there. So I think that, perhaps they're going to have to go back to the drawing board on some level and make some changes there, which will delay things that they want to do. So I think regardless, before the permit issues happen, these things were going to take a while to build with these permit issues going on. This very likely could extend that timeline even more in a time period where I don't think Disney can really afford to have even more delays on the things that they want to offer to try and get people to come over to Disney, away from Universal. And during this, I think is going to be a setup for the next 5 to 10 years is a very competitive and contentious competition between the two, which ultimately all the theme park fans win with that, because I don't think you'd be seeing these new lands that Disney announced at D23 if it wasn't for Universal and the things that they've been doing. And I also don't think you would have seen Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land if it wasn't for the things that Universal has been doing. So Universal is pushing Disney. I think that's a good thing. Now, we won't talk about in this video. I think Disney has a lot of things they've been doing that are very short-sighted, but for their long-term growth here of wanting these lands to be a success and get built to be able to compete with Epic Universe, these permit delays are not something I'm sure they like to hear. They very well just could get resolved within these 60 days. The state could come back and say it's fine. So, I'm not trying to make anything to jump overboard that this is going to be a massive issue. I think it is going to delay the timelines a bit, but it very well could still go how Disney wants it to go. But again, they could have to make some changes according to what the state asked them to do and what the state says they can and can't do with these areas. So we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out. But for the time being, I don't think Disney's very happy with the state currently. They probably haven't been for a little bit now. And we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with this, if this gets resolved or if Disney's going to have to go make some changes to these permits and their plans in some of these parks here. But either way, that's going to be it though for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about all this? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.